Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be about how I made this little Luna moth. It's terrifying and I made it. But yes, this little one will be up for grabs in my shop if my patrons haven't already snapped her up. So if you want early access to any of my work, you can join my Patreon and you will have early access to anything that I make and a whole lot of other different things, if that tickles your fancy. So I have a tutorial in my shop about how I made these wings. So if you want to know how I made them, you can find that in my shop as well. But the rest of the doll, you can find out how I made them in this video. So yeah. So if you want to purchase, then you can find her in my shop on creaturesofnet.com if she's still in there. I also am planning on making, at this point, I'm planning on doing a sticker pack, a Luna Moth sticker pack as well. So hopefully I'll get that done before I actually put this one up in my shop. I've already made them. I just have to print them out on my printer and cut them out on my Cricut. Which it's really not that long of a process, but you know, time. Anyway, so if you want to see how I made this little one, then keep watching. Alright, so if you haven't already seen my tutorial that's available to make these moth wings, then I suggest checking it out. I have it available over my Patreon for my $10 and up tiers, or you can find it in my shop at creaturesofnet.com. So I'll go through the whole process via a video, which will include what materials I use, what process I do to make the wings, and how I paint them, what I sew together, what's inside it. So yeah, check it out. Anyway, moving on to the actual doll. So for these eyes, I started off making the eyes, obviously. I use just some black Sculpey, and you can find Sculpey, Primo, whatever you can find. You can paint them even if you don't have black, but I just decided to go with some black Sculpey eyes, rolled them into a ball and then shaped them into sort of a moth eye look. So after I baked those to make sure they're hard, I then went ahead and sculpted the little head. I was initially going to make the head out of fabric, but I decided to just go with a Sculpey or polymer clay head. So I'm using Sculpey Original here. It's only a small piece, and the reason I baked the eyes first is because it keeps its shape, and also sometimes when you work with white clay and then other coloured clay, the colour can leach a little bit, so from your fingertips, and then you'll leave little coloured marks on your nice white clay. So I'm just sculpting the head out, and then once I've done with that, I add a little bit of texture to it. So I wasn't sure if I was going to leave it as a polymer clay or if I was going to apply some fur to it, because the moth is like little bit furry. So I just applied some texture to it to begin with anyway, just in case I had that option open. And with that, I'm happy with the sculpt. I can put it in the oven to bake, and then I can start working on all of the rest of the pieces. So starting off with the body, I've just cut out this little shape. I haven't drawn a pattern or anything for it, but this is what the body would look like once it's all sewn up. So I just drew out this little pattern on some spare faux fur that I had. You only need a small piece, and then I can start sewing it up. And I'm using a ladder stitch to sew this up, which is what I normally use for all my other dolls anyway. If you don't know what a ladder stitch is, I have a video on my channel that you can check out and have a go yourself. And always get a good quality thread. I find that really helps with sewing anything in tension. If you get a lower quality thread, it has more chance of snapping and degrading, I guess. So I use Gutermann thread, which I highly recommend. So once I've sewn all this up, I can start adding all of the legs that I'm going to be adding. So this one doesn't have an armature inside. I didn't think it was really necessary to have an armature inside the body itself, rather than just the legs and the wings. So I'm using some small armature wire. I think this is a 2mm or something, or 1mm armature wire. It's aluminium. But it's a little bit stronger than regular aluminium. So what I'm doing is I'm just cut out 3 or 4 pieces of aluminium that's roughly the same size, and then I start inserting it inside of the body, making sure that the legs are on the same, that are symmetrical. So you don't want legs that are on the other side of the body, so you want to always make sure you're getting them, making them symmetrical when you put them in. So I'm going to be securing these legs with some glue and also sewing them on just to make sure they don't move around too much, and always keeping an eye on where the legs are going to sit as well. So once I've done that and I've started sewing everything up, I can start securing those legs, and I'm just using a stitch that goes around inside the body and then around onto the other side, so it sort of loops around. So I did a little trial and error for the legs. So I used some faux fur for the first one. I'll go through the process after this one, but this was just a trial. I wasn't sure if I was going to be happy with it or not. So yeah, that's a little look of what it will look like once it's been trimmed. I did trim it a little bit more, but basically the process was cutting out lengths of faux fur, the color that you wanted. This is a pretty thick faux fur as well, so just be wary when you get thinner faux furs, you'll see the backing, but this one I was pretty lucky on, that the backing, you couldn't really see it, and the faux fur was quite thick. So basically I just load up the back of the faux fur with some glue, and then I wrap it around onto the legs. Once that's dry, I give it a little bit of a trim, and I did that for all of the legs. So once that's all dry and secure and you're happy with it, I start inserting the wings onto the body. So I've left the head where the head's going to go open just so I can get inside and secure everything properly. So the wings, what I've done is I have some wire that is sticking out of the top of the wings and inserting it inside the body. Once the wire is inserted, I can start securing it all together. So I just basically wind it in on itself, and that way it's not going to move anywhere. But I did also secure it with some sewing as well. But when you're happy with the positioning, just make sure it is in the correct positioning, so you don't want it a bit wonky or off onto the side of the body. You can always just pull it out if you're unhappy with the placement, but once you're happy, you can start twisting the wires around on itself. You want to be careful not to actually have any sticky outy bits of the wire or any sharp bits poking through, so I made sure just to make it a blunt end, and then I can put it inside the body. Not a big deal when you put it inside the body, you can't feel it or anything, because I added a little bit of polyfill to the inside of it just to give it a little bit more bulk. And then once that's done, I can start sewing all of the ends up. So I basically just sewed the body to the end of the wings, because I still wanted those wings to be poseable and I didn't want too much pressure on the wings either. So I just ended up sewing just a small section of each side of the wing up using a lattice stitch as well, to make sure it's all secure. So once that's all sewn up and we're happy, I can add the head to the body now. So it's the same process as the rest of my dolls. I just add some of that tacky fabric glue to inside the body, and then I can attach the head onto that tacky fabric glue, making sure that the faux fur has a full coverage around that head, otherwise it'll plop off and then you have a hole as well. And I usually just hold it for a little while just to make sure it sticks to the faux fur, and then for this one I'll leave it overnight. And I'm also going to be adding just a small little bit of faux fur to the back, just to, if you look at a Luna Moth, it has like a little bit of fur, I'd say, on top of the wings, so I just added that with a little triangle. Just be careful about the seams if you're not removing the backing. Just be careful of the seams of the faux fur. You can sort of maneuver it a little bit to cover it with the pile that you have, so just be slow, take it slow, and make sure that you're covering the edges of your backing, otherwise you'll see them. So you can see the small difference that made with that tiny little bit of faux fur. Moving on to the little antennas. So I had a couple of options for the antennas, but I ended up going with some feathers that I had just sitting around. So basically I cut them into the shape of the antennas. I was going to use some pipe cleaners, but I couldn't really get the size that I wanted. But maybe in the next one, when we're out of lockdown and I can go to a shop, I can have a look at some pipe cleaners. But these antennas work really well anyway, so basically I'm just attaching it with the tacky fabric glue again, making sure that each antenna is symmetrical, and I leave that to dry for a little while, and you can always add a little bit more glue if you're having trouble sticking them as well. So I ended up applying a little bit of faux fur to the face because the head just didn't really match the body, so I ended up applying a little bit more faux fur around the head, and then adding a little bit of colour around little sections of the moth, so around little white bits of the faux fur. Just a little bit of yellow, just a little bit of pastel yellow, not too much. And then once that's done, I can start moving on to all of the patterns on the wings. So you can put any pattern you want on any of the wings. You can do it any color. So basically I just use a combination of fabric paints and a little bit of white paint that I had. I started off using white to begin with, and then moving on to all of the colors. It's a little bit harder to cover things with white if you do it, so I did all the white first. So basically just using a reference photo, I go around and just add some of the markings to make sure that it's not too thick either, and to still have that sort of fluffy texture. And yeah, went around using my reference photo to make sure all of the patterns are correct, and then leaving it to dry overnight. So I'll probably leave the rest of the painting just to play out. I've left it in real time as well, just so you can see, I don't know, if you can't be bothered with it, then just skip to the rest of the video, to the end of the video, and I'll have some pictures there. But anyway, I'll probably leave it at that, and thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different from the rest of the dolls that I made, so yeah, something different. But I plan to make some more moths as well, because it's quite fun and a different process, and a little bit of a learning curve as well. But yeah, thanks to my patrons for supporting me. I really appreciate it. You can find a whole heap of things over there. The community is getting larger and larger, which is really great. And yeah, if there's anything you want me to put up there, let me know over on Patreon. Link is in the description, as well as my Instagram and Facebook and my shop at creaturesofnat.com. So this is available, like I said before, in my shop, if my patrons don't already snap it up, and also that sticker set as well, which I'll talk to you about at the end of the video. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will catch you later. Bye! guys, I also wanted to add the sticker set for the Lunar Moth. I'm trying to pick them up. So the sticker set for the Lunar Moth, this is what we have. I don't know how well you can see them. So they're illustrated, they've been illustrated on Procreate and then printed on glossy paper, sticker paper, and cut out on my Cricut. So whoever buys the Lunar Moth will get a free set of stickers as well, and also the stickers will be available by themselves as the pair from my store. So yeah, you can head over there and check it out. The shipping is a bit ridiculous at the moment, so just keep that in mind. I can't send internationally via a letter, so if you're thinking of getting something, I'd recommend adding a few things to your cart to make it worthwhile, because the shipping is usually, for something small like this, it's going to be like 20 bucks. Hopefully the shipping will resume soonish. But yeah, Australia Post just isn't shipping cheap shipping. They're not doing that at the moment, no regular whatever it's called, so they're only doing shipping with tracking. So yeah, so regardless of what you order, whether it's this or, you know, something this size, it's still 20 bucks. Obviously more the bigger you get. So yeah, anyway, so they're the Lunar Moth stickers that are in my shop. Anyway, that's all I wanted to add.